One time I was in a certain area, so the father came and said to me, come and speak to my daughter. The issue was that his wife had gone out visiting, and it was the only time that he had a chance to get someone to speak to the daughter. So I said to him that now, he said only now, because my wife, if she's there, she'll never allow anyone to come. And as we were walking towards the house, he says that actually what happened a few months ago, a few years ago, his wife's brother came from Pakistan, and in that few months or whatever it is, he explained to the girl and to the mother that what is the Ahl-Bayt. But for this group, that word Ahl-Bayt meant everything. And he explained it so well to this girl and to her mother that suddenly they began looking at the entire ummah around them, that all of you all hate the Ahl-Bayt. And because of that day, she became Shia immediately. And the mother became Shia. And the poor father now is living in a house where the only TV that's allowed on is channel of Iran. So he said, we got 5 or 10 minutes to speak to my daughter before my wife comes. So in that conversation, one thing that the girl mentioned is, she said that why don't you people love the Ahl-Bayt? She said, that's the only problem I got. That you don't love them. She said, I'm not saying you all hate them, but you don't love them. And she said, the proof of it is in your bayans, I have never heard you ever speak of the Ahl-Bayt. So it was a thing, what she said. So as we left the house, I told her that time is almost up, I haven't got much to say, but if ever you want to contact. She never contacted, but one thing played on my mind. So when I came back, then I had some chance at that time, and now because of Al-Faruq and they gave this topic, so I took the chance again to read a little bit, what is this issue of Ahl-Bayt? So as then I went into the issue about who is the Ahl-Bayt. So I found that there are 2 groups in the world. One is that group that said we ourselves will define who the Ahl-Bayt is. And in definition they said that the Ahl-Bayt will comprise, obviously, Bayt means house, Ahl means family. If I had to ask you who's your family, the first answer that will come out is who? Because when I say I brought my family for the program, immediately it will be understood where you left your wife. Because the wife obviously is the first. Thereafter the person will say, and your children, they are also part of your family. I would say I never only came with my immediate family, I brought my father and mother also. I brought my grandchildren. So the man will say, they're part of the family, bring them in. I might say my brother-in-law is here. He said, I told you, bring your family. In a normal word, anyone will understand people of the house mean whoever enters the house. And that was supposed to be meant. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam one time asked, who's a martyr? So a martyr always in the previous eras was a man who passed away in jihad fi sabilillah. So the Sahaba radiallahu anhum said, a man who dies on the battlefield. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, then the martyrs of my ummah will be very few. He said, no, Allah has made my ummah open up everything. He said, yours will be the majority of Jannah. He said, the most martyrs in the world will be of my ummah. He says, the one who suffers with the stomach ailment and he passed away, he's a martyr. The wall fell on him, he's a martyr. There's a crash, he's a martyr. He drowned, he's a martyr. He came up to open the world. That you will also be, you will also be, you will also be. But the amazing issue in this part, where you ask anyone in the world who's your family, he will say the whole group is my family. But if you ask this one group that we feel shy to take their name also, they will say that no one is of the family except 4. So they pushed out everyone. And when they will be asked why, on what basis? So who are the Ahl-Bayt for you? And if that girl, if I had to ask at that moment, then which Ahl-Bayt you speaking about? So she would say Ali radiallahu anh, Fatima radiallahu anha, Hassan radiallahu anh, Hussein radiallahu anh. Will there be anyone else in that house? She will say no. So an alim very beautifully then wrote this. He said if anyone had the choice to select who the Ahl-Bayt must be, because Bayt means house, Ahl means whoever enters the house. But if you let someone select, and he says you can't enter the house, you can't enter the house, he said then there will be no criteria left. Because of no criteria, what happened to this group? The first thing is when the group said only 4, Ali radiallahu anh, Fatima radiallahu anha, Hassan and Hussein. So the first question that was put to this group, if Fatima radiallahu anha was part of the house, then what made you exclude the other 3 daughters of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? What did they do wrong? Why you push them out? Because if being the daughter made you part of the house, how could you just cancel someone's 3 daughters? Imagine I land up in your house and I say I got my daughters and you say I only allow 1, the other 3 stay outside. I will walk out of this. I will say you called me with my family, who gave you the haq to say only this one I accept, not the other 3? So that's the first. 3 daughters were pushed out. Thereafter the alim wrote, Hazrat Zainab, Ruqayya, Kulthum were the 3 daughters. They were told, you can't be part of the house. So they had to stand one side. If they had to say, what did we do? There'll be no answer. Thereafter when they came on this side, Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu himself is now by the house. He's Ahl-Ul-Bayt. But Ahl-Ul-Bayt means I'm part of the family and my children also came with me. We all came for the dawah. So Ali radiallahu anhu suddenly brought all his sons. Ali radiallahu anhu had 11 sons. Hassan and Hussein radiallahu anhu was from Hazrat Fatima radiallahu anha. The other sons were from different wives. This is one unique thing to remember. Ali radiallahu anhu, after the death of Fatima radiallahu anha, he got married again. And who he got married to first? Fatima radiallahu anha herself said, when I pass away, I want you to marry this girl. Meaning my sister's daughter, the daughter of Zainab. She says, because she will be the best for my sons. Part of the family. She had a lot of love. When Fatima radiallahu anha said, marry. Ali radiallahu anha lands up by your house. She said, I brought my family. Hassan and Hussein are my 2 sons. And besides them, there's another 9. And amazing what names he gave his sons. The first son was called Muhammad because of the love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His second son was called Abu Bakr. His third son was called Umar. His 4th son was called Usman. In that, Ali radiallahu anhu made an announcement to the world that if there's anyone who loved that group, then look at the names of my children. Thereafter, he had many others. So he brought all his sons. So the person will say, I'll allow Hassan and Hussein in my house, they're part of the house. All the others, please stay out. Ali radiallahu anhu said, they're my sons. Why can't they enter? So the man will say, because they're not the sons of Fatima. We're only allowing her children. Suddenly Fatima radiallahu anha says, I brought my sons Hassan and Hussein, but I also got my 2 daughters. She also had 2 daughters. Her 2 daughters were Zainab and Kulthum after her sisters. She will say, I want my daughters to enter. Say, sorry, they can't enter. We only want Hassan and Hussein. So she'll say, but if you stopped all those because they're not my children, then these are my children. Why can't they enter? So the man will say, they girls, we only want boys. So she will also say, you kept my family out of it. Suddenly Hassan radiallahu anhu is entering with his children. He also got children. So this group will say to him, we're allowing you to come. Your children are all out of the Ahl-Bayt. So Hassan radiallahu anhu said, what did my children do? He says, we're not allowing them, they out. Hussein radiallahu anhu is walking in. So the man will say, we'll allow some of your children, not all. Because this group did that. From the Ahl-Bayt they said that it was only Ali radiallahu anhu, none of the other brothers of Ali radiallahu anhu. So Ali radiallahu anhu, Nabi sallallahu announced the entire family of Abu Talib is part of the household. So Ali radiallahu anhu and his brothers, but this group said, you can enter, your brothers can't enter. Fatima radiallahu anhu came. He said, you can enter, your sisters can't enter. Hassan radiallahu anhu came, they said, you can enter, your other brothers cannot enter. They must all stay out. They told him, you can enter, your sons can't enter. Hussein radiallahu anhu came, they said, few of the family of Hussein made the Ahl-Bayt, the remaining ones never made the Ahl-Bayt. Finally, what will happen, and this is how they defined it. They made this group, they have defined you from the family, you not from the family. You from the family, you not from the family. So finally, Fatima radiallahu anha will say, that, am I from the Ahl-Bayt? They will say, yes. She will say, no, only half of me is from the Ahl-Bayt. Because you allowed my 2 sons to enter, but my 2 daughters, you kept them out. So it means half of me you allowed in Ahl-Bayt, in the house, other 2. Ali radiallahu anhu will say, forget half. In my instance, 9 sons you kicked out, you only kept 2. So you only kept 2 out of 11. I'm part of the Ahl-Bayt. Hassan radiallahu anhu will say, not one of my sons were allowed in the house. So me, I'm not part of the Ahlul Bayt. Hussein radiallahu anhu will say, only about 7 or 8 of my progeny you allowed in. What about the rest? He also broke. In the ending, there's no one left in the house. Everyone was cut out. So that group will be told, if this is your meaning of Ahlul Bayt, that we will define who it is, then you have done the greatest injustice to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. To Hazrat Fatima radiallahu anhu will say, bring my your sisters in. To Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu will say, bring my brothers in. To Hazrat Hassan radiallahu anhu will say, bring my sons in. Hussein radiallahu anhu will say, bring my whole progeny in. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam will say, what about my uncles and aunts? You just push them out for no reason. If you're giving a dawah, invite the whole family. Don't pick and choose. Because then the few you wanted also will say, please, I'm also not coming. And this is what happened in that. If you have to understand who is the Ahlul Bayt, then first you will ask the man on the phone, you coming with your family, who you bringing? So the man will say, I'm bringing my wife. You say, no problem. You say, I'm bringing my 3 sons, no problem. You say, I'm bringing my mother and my mother-in-law, no problem. The man himself decides who are the people of the family. Anyone in the world says, we will choose, the man will say, I'm not coming to your house. So we will ask Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who are the people of your family? That's how it is. And when you will see those people, and then you will say, do we really love those people? And do we really talk about those people? Do we really make dua for the people? And you will find me and you, we live and we die in the love of this group. First, Quran will speak about the word Ahlul Bayt comes in Quran. It comes many places in Quran. Quran made it very clear in Quran that wherever the word Ahl was mentioned, family, whoever it was mentioned to Nabi Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam. When the time of the floods came, Almighty Allah said that take from every animal 2 and take your family into the ship. Nuh alayhi salam never stood up and said, oh Allah, who's my family? He himself understood, so he told his wives enter. He told his sons enter. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, the angels came to visit him. So they were telling him that your wife is going to fall pregnant. So she laughed. She said, I am a woman who is over the age already. I have passed, that menopause area has come. Where can I ever get a child? So they said to her, أَتَعْجَبِينَ مِنْ أَمْرِ اللَّهِ, that are you amazed with the doings of Allah? May the mercy and the blessings be upon you, Ahlul Bayt. O woman of the house. Because a woman in the house is the real Ahl of the house. So they announced to her Ahlul Bayt. Ahl means anyone in the house. Nabi Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, before becoming a Nabi, he left his father-in-law's house after many years. On the way moving through, it was dark, his wife was feeling cold, she was pregnant. So he said to her, I need to find fire. Suddenly he said, he saw a fire in the distance. So Quran described it, إِذْ رَأَى نَارًا. He saw the fire. فَقَالَ لِأَهْلِهِ. So he told his wife. But again Quran used the word Ahl. Because Ahl normally meant the people in your house. And doesn't have to only be your wife and children. Sometimes your servant who is very, very close to you, he can also become part of the household. If I phone and say, I'm bringing my household. One friend, he works in this, like how you have Disneyland. And you have, I don't know, like all those Disneyland now. So people from the Arabian lands, they come for visits. So normally what happens is we go, example, Kruger Park. So when I go Kruger Park, I take a small bag. And it is me, it will be my wife, it will be my child, maybe we'll take 2 other people in the car. We don't take the whole house. Because we know we're going to stay there 3 days. This man said, now he's the security guard at Disneyland, one of the security guards. So when the people come, so he says when the Arabs come, he says the auntie comes and behind her is a 20 servants also. They have booked rooms for every one of those servants also. He says they book so many because when auntie comes, now she needs a cold drink. So the one servant is running there. The other one is bringing the clothing. He says they bring the whole house and they come for the holiday also. So if someone sometimes says, I'm coming with my family, my servant is also coming. When Quran spoke about Fir'aun drowning, Allah Ta'ala said, drown Fir'aun and the family of Fir'aun. But we all know that Fir'aun's wife and children never come for the war. What was meant here is selected ministers. There you understand the people around also become part of the Ahl. Now who will the Ahl be? First we look at Quran. And what a tarteeb you can follow. Because the greatest advice to us first is Quran. In Quran, the word Ahl-Ul-Bayt was mentioned once for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Where it was mentioned in an issue where at the end of the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a lot of wealth started coming. And our nature is such, we live very poor lives. But as soon as we see money, we spend it as though money will always come. You will see a rich man, he knows how to look after money. And a poor man, when he gets money, he loses it before he got it also. You read sometimes in the newspaper, they stole 1 million. You say 100 million they stole. But when the police caught them, they spent it all also. How can you spend so much? Because that man never know how to keep. When wealth started coming in the Muslim world, so the wives of Rasulullah never asked to change. They only said that you are giving everyone now a little bit. So can we improve the condition of our life? In the ending, we are the wives of the man of the ummah. And it was nothing hard, because if your wife asked you, I want a little bit extra, the mufti will tell you, give her. But when Rasulullah was asked, his nature was such that when Sahaba radiallahu anh told him, you want to build something for you, he said, I'm a traveler in this world who has lied down under a tree. I'm going to stand up and I'm going away. I do not want to take one thing of this world with me. For Nabi Sallallahu it was not hard, because he was the selector of Almighty Allah. But for his wives it was very hard. Because they had to live on that level that suddenly they saw their sisters, their nieces, their cousins, their lives were improving. And my house cannot change. My house is such that when it rains, so Aisha radiallahu anha says that the mud would be in the house. Nabi Sallallahu would make sajda on mud. So that wife was really asking, can we change the roof? Nothing big about it. Nabi Sallallahu just looked. And he became upset with his wives. And he pulled away from them. Umar radiallahu anh went and said, oh Allah's Nabi, is it divorce? So Nabi Sallallahu said, no. He said, Allah, because they were so worried, he divorced them. But for about a period of 40 days, Nabi Sallallahu did not go to his wives. Thereafter, Almighty Allah interceded on behalf of the wives. The intercession was both ways. That the nature of Rasulullah sallallahu with this world is such that he sees the world like a dead donkey, like a dead goat. If the world has to come to him and you tell him, hold it, Nabi sallallahu held that goat once. And he said, who will buy this dead goat? And all the Sahaba pulled away. And he said, this is how this world is in the eyes of Allah. He understood it. So for him to change his house was, I can't do it. So Allah Ta'ala interceded on his behalf to the wives. Do you know your husband who he is? And he interceded on behalf of the wives to Rasulullah sallallahu that in the ending they are women. So the decision was, which Quran came down with, Ya ayyuhan nabi qul li azwajika, that say to your wives now, that if you want the world to become more, and there's nothing wrong with it, it is not haram at all, then Allah will give you lot of the world, no problem. He will make you the richest of the richest. But you will have to be ready to separate from Rasulullah, because he cannot take it. And if you want to remain the wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then you'll have to make sabr. And it was such a hard decision. We might say, I'll just say, I'll choose. But we all know nobody chooses difficulty. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he went to Aisha radiallahu anha, he was so scared that she would say, oh Allah's Nabi, I can't manage. Because later on in life, Umar radiallahu anha proposed to the sister of Aisha radiallahu anha, Abu Bakr radiallahu anha's daughter. Later on, when he was the Khalifa of the Muslim world, things were a little bit better. Aisha radiallahu anha's sister, she refused. If I tell you the president has proposed, the father will jump. Before the girl even said, I never saw his face. The father said, you know who's proposing? When the Amir proposed, who was ruling Persia and Rome, for the sister of Aisha radiallahu anha, Abu Bakr radiallahu anha's daughter. And the life of Abu Bakr's family never changed lots. But that young girl said, oh my sister, I will never manage the life this man lives. We can't. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had that worry, that if Aisha radiallahu anha is going to be told now, that if you want to remain my wife, you will have to make sabr. He thought, what if she says, oh Allah's Nabi, I can't, and he loved her so much. So he said to her, please my wife, don't give an answer until you make mashwara with your father. Aisha radiallahu anha said, what mashwara are you asking? I choose the Rasul of Allah. Allah Ta'ala became so happy on that decision. And you must understand how she chose it. We might think for the next 2 years, 3 years. But he also made it very clear. He said, oh Aisha, if you want to have that position which you enjoy in this world of being my best and my most beloved, then I want you to meet me on the position I'm leaving you. And he explained that this clothing as you have it patched today, he says, do not change your cloth until you have about 6 to 7 patches on your cloth. Aisha radiallahu anha later on in her life, when the Muslim Ummah took over the whole world, and everyone was king and queens, and wealth was coming in from every quarter, Aisha radiallahu anha will get from Umar radiallahu anha 10,000 dirhams a year. That was her stipulation. She would spend it so fast that the slave at the end of the day would say, oh mother of the believers, don't you remember you fasting? At least you should have kept that one loaf of bread. I got nothing to give you at night. Aisha radiallahu anha said, you should have told me I'm fasting. Never mind, we'll make sabr. To do that is not easy at all. When the Nabi said, when wealth will come and you just spend like this and spend like that, you'll never do it. She did it. So the man said to her, why are you wearing clothes like this when everyone got new clothes? She said, I made a promise to Rasulullah that I will not change my clothing until it's patched left, right, and center. And she kept it. On that Allah Ta'ala revealed the verses. This is the only place Ahl-Ul-Bayt is mentioned in Quran, referring to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah Ta'ala, in honor of the decision, He called them 2 words. He said, Ya Nisa an-Nabi, O the wives of the Nabi of Allah. That is a word of honor. Ya Nisa an-Nabi, lastunna ka ahadin min an-Nisa. You are not like the rest of the women of the world. You are different. And thereafter Allah Ta'ala gave them the second title. And He said, Ahl-Ul-Bayt, yuridu Allah liyudhiba ankum ar-rijza Ahl-Al-Bayt. وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. That we know it's very hard for you. That money, who doesn't like money? But to live in this condition, that when you stand up, your head is hitting your roof. He says, Your Allah wants that you must be completely pure from every form of dirt. This world is that world of dirt. When Nabi Sallallahu held that coat and he said, this is that world. He said He wants to keep you so pure, Ahl-Ul-Bayt, O people of the house. And then Allah Ta'ala said, وَاذْكُرْنَ مَا يُتْلَى فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ مِنْ آيَاتِ اللَّهِ وَالْحِكْمَةِ. That your Allah has selected you for the job, that you will have to teach the world the meaning of the Quran and the Sunnah. Because the amount of time you have spent with the Rasul of Allah, nobody else has spent. That I have made you the teachers of the Ummah. One place in Quran where Ahl-Ul-Bayt is mentioned. If you ask Bukhari, because after Quran goes the next tartib, will be Bukhari Sharif, which the Ummah united on that after the Quran, the most work that was done, to trace every narrator, to look at every narration, to say he spoke the truth, he spoke the truth, who spoke the truth. As a book form, the most work that was done, this country, this alim, that alim, was the work which is called Sahih al-Bukhari. It was not Imam Bukhari just wrote it, so the world said, wow, Bukhari wrote it. It was that after this book was written, it was tested and the exam was taken. It was marked by so many scholars of the Muslim world. This narration, yes. This narration, yes. So we go immediately to Bukhari. In Bukhari you will find that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he would enter into the house of Aisha radiallahu anha, then he would make salam to her. But what the unique salam he would make? The narration goes that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam would enter the house of Hazrat Aisha radiallahu anha, and then he would say to her, Assalamu alaikum Ahlul Bayt wa rahmatullah. That salam be upon you, O woman of the house. That word that Allah praised you with, He used to take pleasure in calling His wife, Assalamu alaikum Ahlul Bayt. Thereafter you go in the next tartib. After Quran is Bukhari. Bukhari showed that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam would address Aisha radiallahu anha, Ahlul Bayt. Thereafter you go, after Bukhari you go to Muslim. And this is the unique point for me and you. That do we ever make dua for the Ahlul Bayt? So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he explained to Sahaba radiallahu anhum, that Almighty Allah has ordered that you must send salutations upon me. So Sahaba came and said, O Allah's Nabi, Salam, how to send it to you, we have learned it. At-tahiyyatu lillah, was-salawatu, was-salamu alayka. We have learned salam. But how do we send salawat upon you? What we learned is Durud Ibrahim in Madrasa. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sat down and he said that after your this dua in salah, at-tahiyyatu lillah was salawatu, you will then read another dua. The dua is Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Al and ahl is the same word. In the Arabic language, a slight change takes place. The ha drops off, it becomes al. What the ha is ahl. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, in your salah every day, you will make dua for me and my family. So you will read Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim. Oh Allah, what a shower of mercy on Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and his family, like how you did for Ibrahim alayhi salam and his family. Allahumma barik ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. We all read it. Another Sahabi Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was teaching him. So instead of saying that word, he said also you can read it like this. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala azwajihi wa dhurriyatihi. Kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim. That Allah send your shower of mercies on Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and his wife and children. Like how you sent it for Ibrahim alayhi salam and his family. In that hadith, he made it clear to the world that in every salah, daily, I want you to remember my family in your du'as. And if a normal person only suffices on his farz, his sunnah-e-muhakkada is wajib, 11 times minimum he will be making dua for the Ahl-Ul-Bayt. 11 times after that he will be making dua of barakat for the Ahl-Ul-Bayt. 22 times minimum if you just do recite in your salah what you're supposed to recite. So the entire world is making dua for the Ahl-Ul-Bayt. So in Muslim you will find that. Thereafter Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made it very clear, he opened it big, that my Ahl-Ul-Bayt is a huge family, don't cut it down until no one is left. So very fast we go through the narrations. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, once upon a time he saw his daughter Hazrat Fatima radiallahu anha, Hazrat Ali radiallahu anha, Hassan and Hussein. He became so happy, he said, these are my family. Ha'ulai ahlu bayti. These are the people of my family. A Sahabi was standing there, Wafila bin al-Asqa. So he was also in and out of the house, but he had no blood relationship. But because he understood I'm in and out of the house and so much of shan and honor he was given, so he took the chance and he said, oh Allah's Nabi, what about me? So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, and you also part of my family. You also part of my family. This comes in the kitab called Sahih ibn Hibban. There are certain books of ahadith like how you have Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih al-Muslim, meaning tick, 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 where the author said, I will only bring those narrations with narrator after narrator after narrator and check, check, check. So one is called Ibn Hibban. He also has a Sahih. So this one comes in his kitab. Another one, Hazrat Salama radiallahu anha says, I remember the time when in my house, Hazrat Ali radiallahu anha, Fatima radiallahu anha, Hassan and Hussein radiallahu anha were there. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, oh Allah, these are my family. So Salama radiallahu anha, she said, oh Allah's Nabi, are we not part of your family? Because you're saying, the way you're saying, like only these are. So he said, obviously you are part of my family. He said, Bala, why not obviously? But at this moment here I am speaking to my small group. So I'm so happy my daughter has come, my grandchildren have come. He said, oh Allah, these are my family. So he said, Salama, you also there. You also there. Then he even went bigger. He took it out. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam goes to Abbas radiallahu anhu. He says the message, you come and you bring your sons also. I want to make dua for you. Abbas radiallahu anhu brings his sons. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam takes out a shawl. He puts it over all of them. And then he says, oh Allah, these are the people of my house. This is my uncle. This is my cousin. He says, oh Allah, as I have covered them with the shawl of mine, I ask you to cover them from the fire of Jannah. Like how he said, the shuhada of my ummah will be very little, but otherwise, if I have to give you the chance to cut out, my Ahl-Ul-Bayt is huge. Because they are a selected group in the eyes of Almighty Allah. It became bigger and bigger. During the time when the trench was being dug, Maulana Musa mentioned you only have two groups. He said you can have the Muhajirin or the Ansar. But there's this one Sahabi who was not a Muhajir and he was not an Ansari also. So while the trench was being done, so they made their groups that the Muhajirin will dig here, the Ansar will dig here. So they put Salman al-Farsi was from Persia. He was a very old man. He had read in the scriptures of the coming of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He saw the land. The priest of the time told him where to go. He followed that trace until he came to Medina Munawwara. But he reached before Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam reached. And he reached that he was caught before coming, so he was sold as a slave. So he was a slave of Medina, but he was not of the Ansar. Because he was a man who made hijrat. But he couldn't be a muhajir also because he made hijrat without iman. So now the Ansar and everyone loved the Salman radiallahu anhu. He saw the people of the past. Age-wise, he went over 150 years, perhaps more. Historians differ that he even hit the year 200 plus. He saw a lot of his life. So everyone loved him. So the Ansar said that Salman minna. That Salman is from the Ansar, come and join us. The Muhajirin said, Salman minna, you must join us. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam became so pleased that how they fighting for the Sahabi. He said, Salman minna min Ahl-Ul-Bayt. That he's not of you, he's not of you, he's from my house. That he came to the land with no mother and father, I have accepted him in my household. So someone from outside also was brought inside. Salman minna min Ahl-Ul-Bayt. And thereafter Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had to give the message to his immediate family, what we call close blood relatives. The greatest wealth that ever came in Islam was zakat. And it was a time of the Muslim Ummah. Don't think of Islam today where you see the Saudi regime and oil coming from the ground. When Islam started, there was no wealth in anyone's houses. And now because there was a law of zakat, a little wealth started coming. So everyone would come and say, oh Allah's Nabi, I got nothing in my house. Take some zakat. Oh Allah's Nabi, I got nothing in my house, take some zakat. It was poverty in and out. So the grandson of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Hazrat Hassan radiallahu anhu, he's starving. In that condition of starvation, he finds one date, a kajur. We see kajur today, we tell the person, Jazakallah, full. He saw that date because there was no food in his stomach for days. So he grabbed it, he was a young boy. The narration comes in Riyadh al-Salihin. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had to put his hand in his mouth and pull it out. That boy must have looked up and said, so he said at that time, he said, oh my beloved grandson, don't you know zakat has been made haram for us? We are people of this house. It wasn't made haram for all. But Allah had revealed a command that the blood relatives of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which meant the Banu Hashim, which was Lot, Ali radiallahu anhu, all the sons of Abu Talib, this one, that one, that one. So Banu Hashim and Banu Muttalib. Those were the two groups that when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was told to go in that valley, and there were the two groups that went with him. That group who stood with Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam so much, when they came to Medina Munawwara, the command came that you all cannot take zakat. So it was so hard for them that everyone else is benefiting. Suddenly we left. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam showed them that the wealth that Allah will give me, meaning when the war was going to take place now, and then 1/5 would come into the Muslim treasury. From that 1/5, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam would take and he would say, I'll give to my family, because they cannot take zakat. But when they heard the command, you cannot take zakat, it was so hard on them. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, oh my family, don't you know you are Ahl-Ul-Bayt? You are the people of the house. Zakat has been made haram for you. Meaning what a selected title Allah has gave. In that narration he showed that Ahl-Ul-Bayt went to his uncles. He went to Abbas radiallahu anhu. He went to the sons of Abu Talib, meaning Ali radiallahu anhu, Ja'far, Aqil. He went far and wide. So he was a huge group of the Ahl-Ul-Bayt. So the first thing what we wanted to bring to is who is the Ahl-Ul-Bayt? It was a huge Jamaat of Sahaba. Whoever had relationship with Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam in any way in that house, said, you are from my house. Now comes the second question, that how do we love the Ahl-Ul-Bayt? So Murana told me I must start at 25 past, but the unique thing is he never told me when I must end. So we ended on 25 past, inshallah. Hopefully. So one day I went to have some fish. Before we used to eat out, alhamdulillah, after that we stopped eating out. And maybe that was the last day I ever ate out. So the shop here was a unique shop for fish, and in fish there's no ikhtilaf if it's halal slaughtered, who slaughtered it, Sana approved, not Sana approved, although all the other issues come, but fish is fish. But as I went in, the man who's in the shop told me one unique thing. He said, I want to ask you one question. What was the last khutbah that Rasulullah ﷺ gave? So before I even answered, he told me that you people only know the last khutbah was the khutbah of Hajj. Because we always say the final sermon of Rasulullah ﷺ, the khutbah of Hajj. So he said that's a lie. There was one more khutbah after that. So what he meant is what I'm going to narrate now. It is called the khutbah of Khum. And amongst the Shia, this is the main hadith in their life. This was the last khutbah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So immediately I told him that no, after the khutbah of Hajj, there was another khutbah called Khum. So he almost dropped the plates. He said, you know about Khum? I said, but my friend, after Khum, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam went home to Medina. And then there was Jummah after Jummah after Jummah. In every Jummah there was khutbah, khutbah, khutbah. So you made this one, some people made that one. The last khutbah was the last Friday of his life. But I said, but I know Khum and I know it better than you also. So what is the narration of Khum? It is the most beloved narration to the Shia. Because they say in this narration, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Ali radiallahu anhu is my Khalifa. So this is a narration which is unique in all aspects. And he explained it so well, this narration, that if we take it to heart, we will understand how to love the Ahl-Ul-Bayt and how to remain on the Sirat al-Mustaqim. What happened in Hadith Khum? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam finished Hajj. Ali radiallahu anhu met him. He was coming from Yemen. He was the governor for many years there. The people of Yemen, normally people always get irritated with the leader, because the leader is a leader. So they don't worry, oh, you are the cousin of Rasulullah. They say, we're not agreeing with us. So some of them said some words which were not very good. So a young Sahabi came and he said to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know this group here, they criticized Ali radiallahu anhu in a manner which wasn't fitting. They criticized his decision. Whereas he is your close man, they're not so close. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not say anything. And then they carried on. They would normally stop wherever there was water. So that spring is called the spring of Khum. Because of that it's known as the hadith of Khum. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam stopped there, and after the salah, and he gave a khutbah. So many people, whoever accompanied him for Hajj, was accompanying him back also. It wasn't like a selected silent khutbah, it was a huge khutbah. But in that khutbah what he said, the first thing he said that, Innama ana basharun. Hajj is now finished. And Sahaba radiallahu anhu said, we used to be calling it. He said, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us the name is Hajjatul Wada, the final Hajj. He said, we used to call it the final Hajj also, but none of us thought, why is it the final Hajj? He said, only when Allah's Nabi passed away, we understood what we were talking about, the final Hajj. He said, he had told it to us so clearly, but it wasn't. Here again he said, Innama ana basharun. I am only a man. And he said, it seems that the messenger of Almighty Allah, meaning the angel of death, very soon is coming to visit me. So he said, I am going to leave behind two things for you. You will have to hold on to it so firmly. If you hold on to it firmly, you will never go astray after that. That is why it's another narration, he called it Thaqilatan, two very, very heavy things. During Hajjatul Wada, he also said it. It couldn't be, he forgot to tell them there. There, however, in Hajjatul Wada, Nabi Sallallahu said the words, I leave behind two things for you. And if you hold on to it, you will never go astray. And he said, one is the Quran, and one is my Sunnah. And that is what we all know. However, here, because the issue was that those people had criticized Ali radiallahu anhu. So Nabi Sallallahu changed his wording. Instead of saying Quran and my Sunnah, he said, I leave behind for you Quran and the people of my household. The reason is he was saying to the world that do not go and look for my Sunnah yourself. My Sunnah is what my family will tell you I did. They saw me at night, you never saw me. They lived with me in difficult times, you were not there. He was with me in Makkah Mukarramah, you were not there. He was with me in the cave, you were not there. He saw me before I passed away, you never see me. So instead of saying follow my Quran and my Sunnah, he now said follow my Quran and the people of my house. But what a unique narration, that the Shias, their life is this hadith of Qum. But the first words of the hadith, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the first thing I leave for you is a rope which is hanging from the skies to the earth. You will have to hold on to the rope because this rope cannot snap. لَنْ فِصَامَ لَهَا الْعُرْوَةُ الْوُثْقَى. This is Quran. It is a rope that can never snap. What it means can never snap? He was saying to the Ummah, a time will come where a group of individuals will rise and they will try and tell you that the Quran has been changed. He said, this is a rope that can never snap. If one ayat of this Quran is changed, suddenly your rope is broken. You take out one ayat of the Quran and you know a rope, you say it's cut there, you're going to climb the rope after. In when he said, حَبْلٌ مَمْدُودٌ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ, it is a rope hanging from the sky. It meant ayat after ayat after ayat. Everything is joined so tight. You make one cut on any ayat. The group of the Shia, they fell in love with the hadith of Qum. But they forgot the first word, said, don't ever say anything about Quran. And they said it. That this ayat was changed, that ayat was changed. He said, don't ever do that. That was the first. Thereafter he came on to the second. And then he said, and Ahl-Ul-Bayti, أُذَكِّرُكُمُ اللَّهِ فِي أَهْلِ بَيْتِي. My family, I remind you of Allah. I warn you of Allah. This is my family. أُذَكِّرُكُمُ اللَّهِ. What he meant by that? Number one, he meant extreme love for my whole family. And we know the whole family now. That any one of my family members you hit on, sometimes you will make it more general. He will say, Allah, Allah, fi ashabi. That fear Allah regarding my Sahaba. Sometimes he will say, my family. How can you ever touch my family? That love. One is you cannot have any harbor, anything for any of the family. If this one I love, I also love that one. If I love the daughter, I also love the wife. If I love this one, I love that one. That's one. The second is which Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam showed so lovely. When you love an individual, you will have to love those that the individual loved also. So when Khadija radiallahu anha passed away, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam would continue sending gifts to the friends of Khadija radiallahu anha. And when they would ask, why that woman? She was the friend of my wife. In that narration he thought, a Sahabi radiallahu anhu said, oh Allah's Nabi, how can I be a lovely son? My father passed away. He said, then you must show love to the people who your father loved. That is what. The first demand of love is to say, I love the Ahl-Ul-Bayt, and that alhamdulillah we all do. The second demand of love is to love those that the Ahl-Ul-Bayt loved. And who the Ahl-Ul-Bayt loved? So this is one point, whether we hit it on 25%, inshallah. When the Qarisa read that verse, رُحَمَاءُ بَيْنَهُمْ أَشِدَّاءَ عَلَى الْكُفَّارِ رُحَمَاءُ بَيْنَهُمْ. That verse means severe against the kuffar, but extremely merciful for one another. So that's the verse of Quran. But then Quran said, this we have described the Sahaba in the previous scriptures also. Meaning every Nabi that came, he told his people, a time will come where there will be a selected group of people who will have so much of love for each other. So someone will say, what a description that is. I got love for my brother. But the love that Sahaba had, history will never show it again. They were the only group in history that they had war amongst them flare up also. And the caravan of Aisha radiallahu anha stood up. The caravan of Ali radiallahu anha stood up. People from this group in that war killed people of that group. After that war, they could still sit after the war on one dastarkhan and eat like friends. That you will never find in the annals of history at all. Where a man might say that in that war that we fought, you know, you killed my father. You have another chicken. You will never find it. It was a class of the Sahaba which Quran said about that لو أنفقت ما في الأرض جميعا, that O Nabi of Allah, and the miracles of Nabi were unique, and his bayan was unique. One sentence of his a man accepted Islam. But on this issue of love, Quran announced, and I given you the whole world to spend, to unite these people, you would never have managed to unite them. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ أَلَّفَ بَيْنَهُمْ. Allah glued them together. The glue of Sahaba was so unique. In the annals of history after war, to find people on one dastarkhan, you will never find it. You will never find an example that I am the top imam of the masjid. I did nothing wrong at all. I am Khalid bin Walid. I am Muthanna bin Haritha. He was sent to Persia, Muthanna bin Haritha. Khalid bin Walid was sent to Rome, to Sham. They entered the lands as a small group, facing the might of the kuffar armies. Khalid bin Walid showed, I am the sword of Allah. He went through army after army, after army after army, army after army. No army stood in front of him. On the verge now, the most fatal battle. Tomorrow it's either win or lose. If we win this one, the Roman Empire is finished. If we lose tomorrow, a complete setback. At that moment, a letter comes to the hand that, oh Khalid, I dismiss you. Umar radiallahu anh, on that verge, he took Khalid radiallahu anh down from his seat. Me as an imam for 20 years, I did nothing wrong. You take me out of my seat, I'll never make dua for you in my salah. In my salah, I'll say, oh Allah, forgive mu'mineen wal mu'minat, muslimin, accept that one. I'll put you out. So what did I do wrong? The level of Sahaba, on the death of Khalid radiallahu anh, before passing away, he calls people around. He says, you know, when Umar radiallahu anh took me out, hey, I really felt it. I really felt it. Because it's something you feel. Quran said, وَنَزَعْنَا مَا فِي صُدُورِهِمْ. From their hearts we took out that ill feeling. He said, but when I thought about it, I said, wow, what a decision he made. He was Umar. The person said, he took you out from his seat. He said, had he not had the iman of Umar, he would never have done it. On that verge that tomorrow is win or lose, he said, come down. He says, the Muslim Ummah is thinking we're winning because of you, Allah is winning victory. And then Khalid radiallahu anh said to his sons, and there is not a man who I love more than Umar. So now when I'm dying here in the lands of Sham, but I want my wasiyat to be handled by Umar. And you will go back and say, Abu Sulaiman, Khalid said, you must handle it. Because you are the man he loves the most. When it comes to Umar radiallahu anh, he cries. And he says to someone, stand up and praise Khalid. The poet Umar radiallahu anh, when anyone would start praising, he would give him one shot and say, don't overdo it. That poet praised Khalid radiallahu anh, unique. Umar radiallahu anh said, Wallah, you have not touched that man at all. He was far beyond what you say. This was their heart. They had such love for each other. You will never find it in the annals of history. Very fast to go through the love that we have to know who they loved. So I have written 10 points here. 10 points inshallah will take 10 minutes. And inshallah then we will bring it to an end. These 10 points, number one, Umar radiallahu anh had love for the family of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abbas radiallahu anh. What love we will never have. When he said to Abbas radiallahu anh, Wallah, the day you accepted Islam, I became more happy on that day than had my own father Khattab accepted Islam. No man will ever say that. He says, and the only reason I'm saying is I knew that if you had to accept Islam, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam will become so happy. He wouldn't have become so happy if my father accepted. He said, so the day you accepted, I was overjoyed. If my own father had accepted, I wouldn't have been so overjoyed. That love you will never find it. Where a man can tell someone else, I waited for you. When Umar radiallahu anh became Khalifa, then the issue came of what was called Diwan, a registry. So what happened in this Diwan? A lot of wealth was coming in. So someone came and said to him, you have to record the wealth, who you giving to, how much you giving to, now set out the standard. So the normal law is when you set out the standard, we all Zumas in our own right. So whenever we get a chance, we say, first house, build my house, then you build somebody else's. So when Umar radiallahu anh told 3 Sahaba, one was the brother of Ali radiallahu anh, your job is to write who's the first most deserving, because they will get the highest money. Second most deserving, they will get the second amount. Third most. So obviously when the person sat back, he thought most deserving of any wealth is the Banu Hashim. They are the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They are on top. Second most deserving is the first Khalifa of Islam, Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, and his family. Because he says he's the last president. Third most deserving is Umar radiallahu anh and his family. And they wrote, and what a job they did. When Umar radiallahu anh looked at it, he immediately said, this is not what I want. He said, Wallah, whatever we got because of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So the most noblest amongst us is him and his family. Put them on the top of the list. Then he said, whoever was close to him, put them. And he said, Umar is from that family which is far from the Banu Hashim. Put him at the end. The family of Umar radiallahu anh came and said, you are the Khalifa of Islam, don't do this to us. He said, you all want to enjoy the world at my expense, I'll never allow it. He said, put Umar where Allah put him down. We might think it's a 5 rand, 10 rand issue. The wives of Rasulullah came after the family also. First was the Banu Hashim. Then the wives came. Record is made, the wives would get yearly 10,000 dirhams. Umar radiallahu anh, who was the president of the country, was getting 3,500 dirhams. Something easy to say, that's like that one amount. So everything that comes is on this division. How much you get? The family got higher. That love you will never find it. You are the beloved of Rasulullah. You are my beloved. I will give you. Hassan radiallahu anh came on one occasion to visit Umar radiallahu anh. He stood at the door. Abdullah bin Umar was also there. So Abdullah bin Umar said, my father is making mashwara with Muawiyah radiallahu anh, so he told me don't enter. But who is he? He's the son, isn't it? So Hassan radiallahu anh said that if the son can't enter, why am I going to wait so long? He went away. Umar radiallahu anh met him. So he said to him, I asked you that day to come, you came. He said, I did come, but your son told me that you never gave him permission. So what a thing he said. He said, Wallah, if someone has to have permission to enter my house, it is you, not my son. He said, because this hair that got this is because of you and your grandfather. That was that love. For the Ahl-Ul-Bayt, such love they had. Hazrat Aisha radiallahu anha loved Fatima radiallahu anha. Fatima radiallahu anha loved Aisha radiallahu anha. So much they loved each other. But when Aisha radiallahu anha would speak of Fatima radiallahu anha, she would say, Wallah, I have never seen an individual resemble Rasulullah more than his beloved daughter. She says, when she would enter my house, meaning she would come in her house, she would enter my house, so Nabi would stand up for his beloved daughter, he would hug her, he would kiss her, he would grab her by the hand, he would make her sit. Fatima radiallahu anha, Aisha radiallahu anha would see all of that. Fatima radiallahu anha will speak. She will say, I remember the time when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to me that, oh my beloved Fatima, will you not love those who I love? She said, definitely, oh my father. She said, then know that I love Aisha. Fatima radiallahu anha said, from that day I made a pact. I will never allow one sentence to come from my tongue which can cause even a little pain to Aisha radiallahu anha. That was their love, and that's what we have been asked. وَذَكِّرُكُمُ اللَّهِ فِي أَهْلِ بَيْتِي. They had so much love for each other that Ali radiallahu anh once in his khilafat was wearing a shawl. So someone said to him, it comes in Musannaf ibn Abi Shayba, they said to him, I saw you wearing the shawl so many times. Don't you get tired of this shawl? So he said, what words? He said, that Khalili was Safiyi wa Habibi. My beloved Umar gave me the shawl. And then he burst out crying. Just because he thought. They showed their love so much that when Ali radiallahu anh had to name his sons, we said he named them Muhammad, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman. When Hassan radiallahu anh had to name his sons, he called Abu Bakr and Umar. Hussein radiallahu anh had 3, he called one Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. In their own progeny, they made sure if a son has to come, it will be Abu Bakr or Umar. That love. وَذَكِّرُكُمُ اللَّهِ فِي أَهْلِ بَيْتِي. Nabi Sallallahu said, I warn you, I remind you that love my family and love those that my family loved. And thereafter, at the end of the narration, then, because of that issue of Ali radiallahu anh, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam then said, and Ali, man kuntu mawla, fa aliyun mawla. And if you have taken me as your bosom friend, mawla means a bosom friend. From here, mawla, we get mawlana also, the one that I'll go to in problems. He said, if you have taken me as your bosom friend, Ali is also فَعَلِيٌّ مَوْنَعٌ. Then let him take Ali as his bosom friend. But what he meant here, and here perhaps the Shia lost the issue. What Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam meant, that you coming from Yemen, you coming from Sham, you will come from Lord places with Lord ideas. You will say, this verse of Quran means this verse means that, this hadith means that. He said, but if you want to understand my sunnah, And when the people around me will give a verdict, that is why later on, before he passed away, he said, "Yaqtadu." He said, "Follow these two people after me." And he pointed to Abu Bakr and Umar. He said, "Alaykum bi sunnati wa sunnati al-khulafa'i ar-rashidin." Then hold on to my sunnah. Immediately he said, "And if the khulafa'i ar-rashidin tell you something, that's part of my sunnah, hold on to it." Why? He was worried that a group will one day come and who will say the Sahaba never understood Islam. And with Sahaba, those that lived in and out with him. So on that, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, it can't be, because Quran said, وَاذْكُرْنَ مَا يُتْلَى فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ مِنْ آيَاتِ اللَّهِ وَالْحِكْمَةِ. O wives of Rasulullah, you must worry so much of what your husband is saying, because you will be the only one who's going to hear it. Remember it so well, because you will have to tell the Ummah after. The verdict of learn from the Rasul of Allah only came one place in the Quran. It was told to the wives. Because what will be said when you are in the room together, no one of the Ummah will ever know. And as the Ummah started, you will find lot of examples. The Sahaba radiallahu anhu would say, whenever there was an issue where we could not reach a conclusion, then suddenly Umar radiallahu anhu would say, go to the house of Aisha radiallahu anhu. Go to the house of Salama radiallahu anhu. Because if someone will know this, it's one of them who knows it. That was the word Qur'an. So 3 points were mentioned in hadith of Khum. One was hold on to Quran. Because it's a rope, there cannot be one verse that has been taken out. The second is hold on to the Ahl-Ul-Bayt. And who the Ahl-Ul-Bayt? We showed from Quran, it is the wives. Bukhari Sharif showed Aisha radiallahu anha. Muslim Sharif showed Azwaj and Dhurriyat, the wives and the children. Thereafter we went through many narrations, all of them with authentic chains. We showed Abbas radiallahu anhu and his family. We showed Wathila bin Asqa. It showed Salman radiallahu anhu. It showed the Banu Hashim. It showed the Banu Muttalib. Loved this entire family. But the closer they were to the Rasul of Allah, the more honor and more obedience they deserve. Allah bless us. Finally, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam ended that khutbah, and that was the last word, and we will end on that. He said, and remember, I will now be watching how you will come after me and deal with these two groups. كَيْفَ تَخْلُفُونِي فِيهِمَا. Remember, I will watch. It's like the father now saying, now I'm going, that I'm going to keep my eyes, that I told you to look after your mother. So I will be watching how you behave with your mother. He ended that khutbah on this, that remember, your Nabi is leaving, but he will be watching that how you behaved with these two. Alhamdulillah, Allah blessed us from the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. In this group is that group that has love for Quran and every verse of Quran. And may Allah keep us from that. And in the second is that group which loves the Ahlul Bayt, which makes dua for the Ahlul Bayt. But they never pulled out of the Ahlul Bayt. They brought all in. That Allah's Nabi, whoever you want to bring for the da'wah, bring him. My house is big. You want to bring that Khadim, he's part of the Ahlul Bayt, bring him. That one, part of the Ahlul Bayt. I will never say, no, you go out and you go out. Allah grant us understanding. Grant us the ability to explain to others also that this word Ahlul Bayt is a huge word. And it is the word that got the full honor for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah grant us all understanding. And may Allah make us all the means of hidayah for the people to come from all over.